Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday, February 25th, 2024, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Now Mind You podcast. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bow. This is episode 103, Combat. We are
Combat.
your hosts. I'm TJ,
I'm Matt.
and I'm not Bryce because Bryce had a scheduling conflict, but he should be back next week, y'all. As far as the docket is concerned, today we are going to be covering UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Royval 2, which took place in Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico Stadium in Mexico City, right? On this card, we had Torres versus Duncan at lightweight. We had Jauregui versus Hughes at women's strawweight. We had Zeluber versus Prado at lightweight. We had Rodriguez versus Ortega at featherweight. Then we had Moreno versus Royval at flyweight. I'm rolling my R's because this card was damn near Mexico heavy, right? There were only
They
a
was in
few.
Mexico.
They were in Mexico, and there was like only what, two non-Mexican fighters. Uh, there were a few fighters who were like Mexican but not Mexican born, but there were only two non-Mexican fighters on this cards, and like Sam Hughes and Duncan, forget his first name. But with that, let's get into it. I'll
All
start us
right.
off. Torres versus Duncan at lightweight. This fight did not go beyond the first round. Spoiler
Freaky
alert.
fast finish.
Oh my god, ever disrespectful. It's like they don't even waste out. There's just got to be a nigga hovering over that button on every fight just in case. It's like, oh shoot, we got a submission. Bow, freaky fast finish, right? Like in the first round, bow, freaky fast finish, right? But essentially, I was telling Matt before we started recording that this fight kind of reminded me of Drew Dober versus Terrence McKinney to a degree, in the terms of the amount of just back and forth, chaos, ups and downs. Like within the first minute or so of the fight, I won't even say the first 30 seconds, Duncan rocked Torres to the point where he had this dude backing up hard. Like he was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know you had that Scottish strength on you. My bad, player. Hold on. Let me just regroup. Let me just regroup. Let me reassess real quick.
He said,
Then
"Oh,
we
them
can go
4 ounce
forward."
gloves you got on. My bad.
It's like that's right. That's crazy.
That's a 4 ounce
You know,
glove. Yeah,
my
right.
coach had told me that these were 4 ounce gloves. I simply forgot. Um, but before things get too bad for Torres, like he was immediately using his jujitsu to get to the back. Managed to sink in one of the deepest rear naked chokes I think we've seen on a broadcast in a while. Like it was clean, it was deep, and he got the tap. I think they said it was like his 16th overall first round finish, and his sixth first round finish in the UFC, which is insane. Matt, do you have any other thoughts on that?
No. Freaky fast finish. Bro, no, bro, because he just was on this man right away. I definitely said I had no thoughts and then had thoughts.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, bro, he was just on this man from get. Like, you ever just see how a fight's going? It's like, oh, okay. Like, you're this guy. Like, that's how I felt. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, he's this guy right now.
like yeah, it's almost like you're seeing the fight and you're like, what did I expect?
Yeah, he almost had him beat with a separate submission like right before.
Yeah, yeah, this is true. Shit, you want
But
to take? Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, we can go to our next one.
Mhm.
All right. Not sure I'm gonna say this last name.
I got you on the backup.
Yasmin
Hauregi.
Howegi. All
Emphasis
right.
on the R. Hauregi. Regi.
Howregi.
Yeah.
Yasmin Howregi versus Sam Hughes.
All right. Was her nickname Sam Page, or did I mishear that shit?
I thought I heard that. I'm not gonna lie. And
Okay.
because I was definitely willing to give it credit. Um, but also same situation like I just got through saying, where you kind of see how a fight's going. It's like, oh,
I see.
um, that's how this fight went. All
It's
three
like
rounds.
the cards have been written. I see.
Yeah, and now I see. All 3 rounds I gave to Yasmin Hidegi. Like
Yeah.
she was countering like crazy, found her range in the first round, a lot of hand speed, countering this girl down the middle with the right hand, had her nose bleeding in the second round, stuffed every takedown attempt, just forced her to fight her fight and forced her to fight her fight and made her lose, you know?
Yeah.
There's really not a lot to add. This is a women's strawweight fight. Yasmin Horegi is 11-1 now
Hmm.
in the division, which is good. Obviously that I think that'll help her, be able to move along a little bit as far as that division is concerned because like I'm gonna just call a spade, bro. The belt been playing hot potato since Johanna.
Hmm.
It's just what it is. I mean, I know she's been beaten and all that, and she's done with the sport and stuff now. But I think a very telling thing about her legacy, and I mean, even you look at the legacy of like a John Jones or DC is like,
How long she held on to that belt, bro?
look where that belt was, and now look at it now.
Right.
Not to say that it's gone down. It's just and people get better too. So,
Yeah, this is true.
but did you have anything you want to add, TJ?
Jauregi's hand speed is insane. Like you've mentioned this before, or you've given this example before, like on some of our fight reviews, like how you're playing with a video game character and like you're playing against a PC and the PC just shuts you down.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. Anything Sam Hughes tried to get going, Yasmin was like, "Oh, that's crazy. I see what you're doing there. However, I cannot allow it. It's nothing personal. I just want to win."
Mhm.
Um, yeah, this is just like one-way traffic every single round. Every single round. I have nothing else to add.
Well, you want to take us into our next fight?
All right, we had Daniel Zeluber versus Francisco Prado. We had some Latino on Latin violence. Mexico versus Argentina. Um, this is like this is kind of crazy. Like Daniel Zeluber, hold on, let me look at his data because I need to see how tall this nigga is. Because you have to understand this man is 73 inches, so he's like over 6 feet. And he's cutting down what division is this again? My bad. Hold on, y'all. Hold on.
Pissed.
This is lightweight.
Pissed.
So he's cutting down to like 155 at 6 feet. Anyway, needless to say, he's a very lanky fighter for the division. It's like how Rude Boy works at what division is Randy Rude Boy Brown in? Is he middleweight? No,
No, he's
no,
like
he's not middle.
170.
He might be like a welter or yeah, he might be welterweight. I think you're right. But like same thing, like these dudes who just look like giant spiders in the ring, right? In their
Giant
division.
spider.
But that's to say, like Daniel Zeluber really good at managing the distance. Francisco Prado, he's just a fucking powerhouse. But he was unable to get to the inside of Daniel Zeluber's range, right? He was basically just playing on the outside of Zeluber's range the whole time. Not that he didn't get his licks in, right? But I mean, look, if you take a look at both of their faces before the match and after the match,
Come on, let's
one
talk
of
about
these
it.
faces is not like the other. Like Prado's right eye was completely shut down by the time the fight is over. Zeluber like hit him with those minks, bro. Uh
And I don't mean Adriana first, neither.
Oh, that is a deep cut. Had to be from Chicago to get that one.
Oh,
But like, yeah, like Prado got him with a few leg kicks. Like there was a welt forming on the outside of Zeluber's left leg, like on his calf, like very shortly into the match. But every single round, Zeluber prevailed. Prado is a fighter. I don't think his stock diminishes, but that was a very one-sided fight. Like this is the third one out of five so far, third one in a row, where it's just been one-way traffic, all on the side of Mexico, by the way. Uh Matt, you had anything else you want to add?
no, man, you covered it.
Mexican-born Mexicans was going crazy.
They were.
That parlay hit. That parlay hit.
Shit. With that, take us into the co-main.
And then
and then that's crazy. And then
so our co-main event was Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega. This was at featherweight. Yair was coming into this fight 16-4. Brian Ortega coming into this fight 15-3. With one no contest. It had been a little while since we seen Brian Ortega, and man, this fight almost stopped before it started. Brian Ortega rolled his ankle very early on, and by early on I mean during the intros, just jumping up and down, hyping himself, getting ready. First round was all one-way traffic for Yair to me. I thought Brian was fighting back, and we know that Brian is tough, so you definitely just, credit where credit is due for sure. But oh boy, my man's was going through it. Yair put him through hell. He was, lucky Yair didn't try to uncork a kick or something like that on him. And just given the situation that he was in at the time. But I say all that to say, I thought that he started to mount his comeback in the second round. And ultimately, he was able to finish the fight in the third round, being able to squeeze out what did he have on man, TJ?
Basically an arm and triangle choke, but he hit it so slick. It was like arm and triangle with like rear naked choke arms.
Yeah.
It was nasty. The first time I saw it, I thought Yair went to sleep, and then in the slow-mo, I saw the tap.
Yeah, man, it was I thought it was a great fight. I was entertained by it. I really thought Yair was gonna stop him in that first round.
Yeah.
Up until when even when he had him on the ground, Yair was brave. He got into that guard and was doing the ground and pound, and Brian was trying to pop his legs up and throw that flying triangle from the bottom and stuff. But it was when he kind of got turned around, and he even tried to put a calf slicer on Brian, and that didn't work.
Yeah. I was like, bro, how are you gonna try to out jiu-jitsu the jiu-jitsu guy?
Hey, it happens. Shit. He tried. It's no way to know unless you try it.
True.
I give him that. And try he did. But I thought overall, Brian being able to pull that submission out, it's like, that's the danger of the jiu-jitsu guys, man. You got to be careful. Those guys, you get them on the ground, they have you swimming in canvas, and I felt like that's what happened. But I'll pass it to you, TJ.
What's crazy is like Yair repeatedly dropped Brian Ortega in the first round. Like you got, like, when we say he could have finished in the first round, we're not kidding. He repeatedly dropped him. He had him in some bad spots. There was a point where he had him in a guillotine. He did have him in a guillotine.
Ortega, I forgot about
in
that.
a guillotine. And I was like, am I tripping right now? Like, it was insane. But Ortega leaned forward with his controller once he got into full-on jiu-jitsu mode, and that was a wrap. I thought one of the things I liked the most was when they were kind of pummeling, playing the clinch game, and Yair was up on the fence and kind of denying Ortega the ability to really like hit a double or a trip. But Ortega did something that we've seen. I feel like Volkanovski's done this too, where it's like instead of trying to trip people or hip toss them into the fence, they kind of hook one of the base legs of support and pull it back toward the center of the octagon, and it basically causes them to spin out away from the fence and fall to their back, and they just capitalize on it. That's how he's able to get to mount and ultimately sink that not rear naked choke, but the arm and triangle choke with the rear naked choke arms. It was really good jiu-jitsu. Cool to see T-City back in the win column, especially after he had that shoulder injury, right? That's because this was his first fight back, and his last fight was Yair too, and his shoulder had given out, right? Um, but
How to
yeah,
get back on this card?
yeah, this is true. Oh, speaking of which,
Ugh.
let's go on to the main event. We had Brandon, the assassin baby Moreno versus Brandon Roundup. Sorry. I just think about that episode of Martin. You know, the one with Tommy Hearns.
Mhm.
Roundup, Royval. Last time we saw Brandon Royval, he fought Mr. Daddy Issues himself,
Yeah.
Alexander Pantoja. Now, I don't think Pantoja will ever be defeated. And this is simply, Matt knows I quote this every chance I get. But in your post fight, you just won the belt, and your first thing is, "Do you love me now, Dad?" You weren't fighting the same battle as everybody else. Clearly,
Some
that's
people are
all I'm
fighting
saying.
different. Everybody doesn't walk into the fight with the same motivation.
Right? Like, that's all I'm
All
saying.
right.
That's all I'm saying, dog.
Everybody's not here to be the best martial artist they can be. Some men just want to see the world burn.
So, that's what I'm saying. I think Pantoja is going to hold on to that belt for a while, just, just on the strength of that. But I digress. So the last time we saw Royval was literally him fighting for the title, and I guess this now, well, spoiler alert, he won by split decision. So the opportunities for a running of it back are pretty high. I don't know if they're necessarily going to run Pantoja Royval 2 again that quick, because I feel like they might get stuck in that like Moreno Figueiredo cycle too, where it was just like fucking 5 years. It was just Brandon Moreno and Davidson. I don't think we want to see that shit again, or something like that again. But I digress. Right, Brandon Moreno had just come off of the loss of his title to Alexander Pantoja. So man, there's a lot of Pantoja on both sides of this of the octagon here. But uh how did I feel about this fight?
Tell us.
If you just took the first 2 rounds and left it at that, I'd have been like, Moreno's got this in the bag.
Yeah.
The start of it was kind of slow because they're both to a degree counter strikers, right? Like if you looked at the first 2 minutes, there wasn't a lot of action because like each of them was waiting for the other person to make a move so they can capitalize on their fucking mistake,
I
right?
mean, to the point that even
Herb Dean was like, I don't have patience for this.
yeah, action.
Yeah, he's like, let's go, come on. Um, but yeah, that first round, Brandon Moreno is so fucking slick with his footwork and his overhand. But I was telling this to Matt, before we started recording, and it's easy for me to be like, armchair quarterbacking right now, hindsight 2020. But I think based on Moreno's last few performances, I think one of the things he has a tendency to suffer from is the fact that his follow-up after really hurting somebody is not great. Because he cracked Royval several times in this fight in these early rounds, like cracked him, and I'm pretty sure he could have finished him if he just simply added on, like he piled on after the cracking. Because it's like he cracks him, and then there's like a little bit of disengagement, and the opponent recovers because first 2 rounds was like, all right. Then round 3, 4, 5, Royval was giving him the business. He was starting to get a really good read on Moreno's overhand. He was starting to hit him with leg kicks, so on and so forth. Not that Moreno didn't have his moments. Like he was in the fight throughout, but there was a significant gassing out in rounds 3, 4, 5 from Moreno, a lot more shelling up, a lot more defensive play as opposed to offensive play. And I feel like Royval in the later rounds was just honestly like in his higher gears, right? He was in like in fourth, fifth, sixth gear, still swinging, still getting points for all the strikes he was throwing because the amount of volume he was throwing compared to Moreno significantly higher in the later rounds. So I think the decision was correct. I'm not happy about Moreno taking another L, but I think the decision was correct. Um, we'll see what's up next for Royval. I mean, if he's now the number one contender, it makes sense for him to be set up with another title bout, but I also would like to see somebody else get a shot. Personally. I mean, he like literally his last fight before this one was a fight for the title, right? But I'll pass over to you, Matt. What'd you think?
I actually was really shocked, like you said, the way that the fight turned, because after those first 2 rounds, I was like, I guess Brandon Moreno's got this in the bag, because like he was just fully in control. Like there was never a moment of that fight that I didn't think he was in control. So I thought he had it. And like you said, he was just Brandon Royval was able to turn the tide. And I think it's good because it'll bring some new blood into that title scene. Sure, I could see him taking one more fight first, before fighting for the title again. But at the same time, like going back to your point, how many times did we see fucking Moreno and Figueiredo fight? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that was the only fight they division had for like 3 years.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, I wasn't mad at it. I thought Brandon Royval did exactly what he had to do. His arms are a lot longer than I thought they were. For a guy his size. But overall, I was entertained by the fight. Yeah, man, I think Brandon Royval just did everything that he needed to do to get the decision. Obviously, he did. I would have wanted to see, for me, I felt like I wanted to see more wrestling out of Brandon Moreno because he was
He
winning.
can wrestle too.
He was winning those exchanges. He got
That's
3
true.
takedowns.
That
And I
is
felt
true.
like he was winning those exchanges, but also like you said, seeing that he got winded, I could also understand maybe not going into more wrestling if if your gas tank is compromised. I fully understand that. So, but those are my final thoughts. Those are my thoughts on that main event. What was your favorite fight of the night? TJ?
No, I'm still here. I'm like thinking because I'm like, I think co-main, man. I
Yeah,
think Ortega Rodriguez.
that definitely is the answer for me.
Yeah, it's really good. And this isn't to like shit on anybody else's performance because I thought Jauregui's was masterful, Zaluber's was masterful, but it was all one-way traffic in terms of like what seemed to be a battle. Probably co-main for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Brian Ortega coming back from injuring himself and then from Yair trying to murder him in that first round. Yeah, I thought it was a great performance. I mean, shit, he got 50K for that one.
Good for him.
Yeah, good on him. Good on him. Any final thoughts on the card?
I think overall it was a good event.
Yeah, UFC Mexico, I felt like it delivered. Even in terms of, forgive me for saying it, even in terms of the women's fight. I know a lot of times people treat like, the women's fight like the bathroom break fight or what have you, but
Damn.
listen, man, we've had some stinkers recently. I'm just gonna keep it a stack.
Right.
And that's just my opinion, who am I ultimately, but I thought even the women's fight on this card was really good too.
Yeah.
I was everybody came to fight. That's one thing I know for a fact.
Yeah.
Nobody came there like just trying to get a check right quick. I mean, I'm sure they did, but you get what I'm saying.
I feel you. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, uh next week what we will be covering is another UFC Fight Night event. This is Jairzinho Rosenstrike versus Shamil Gaziev. They are the main
Good
event
job.
of a UFC Fight Night. Thank
Hey,
you.
nigga, those names aren't easy. Like,
Hey,
good
I'm
job.
very familiar with those too. That's the only reason. Uh we also got Tyson.
Tyson
Is this him?
Pedro. Tyson Pedro.
Is this him?
It's Tyson
Yeah.
Pedro.
Tyson Pedro's on this card. We got your boy Eric Anders on the card.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You got Umar Nurmagomedov on this one. Oh, Matt
Our
Snell. We got Matt
boy
Snell on
got
the
that
card.
dog
Okay.
in him. Arr.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one next week.
Finally, I'm
So
glad
make sure you guys
he
check
took some
that one
time to
out.
recover.
Hey, and look at this too, TJ. It's an early one. It's just say it come on at 3 o'clock.
Look at God.
Look at
Like,
come
look
on.
at God, bro.
Come on,
Get some
man.
sleep. All right.
I'm adding more hype for the fights now.
Right, for real.
Well, next week we will be covering Jairzinho Rosenstrike versus Shamil Gaziev. With that, thank you guys so much for checking out another episode of the Now Mind You podcast, Combat Edition. You can follow us on social media. You can follow me at Matt Hambrick. That's MATTHAMBRICTJ.
Y'all can find me on Instagram at Tuss4Skate. That's TUSS__SKATE. And y'all can find Bryce on Instagram at Ashe Onta. That's AXE_ONCA. Baby. Where can they find that podcast?
They can find us at Now Mind You Podcast, wherever you like to get your podcast and wherever you like to get your social media. We are in all places. And with that, thank you guys so much. And we will see you next week. Peace out.
Peace.